Steven hit us up. He said, what if Penn State can stop the run? Okay, Penn State, top 10 rush defense in America, so it's not a wild thought. He follows up and says, can Riley Leonard actually win a game without their run game? So here's why this is being asked. Notre Dame is a 55% of the time run the football team. They want to punch you in the mouth. They want to smile doing it. They want to impose their will on the line of scrimmage. I just said Penn State is a top 10 team in America when it comes to yards per carry allowed. So here's my follow-up question, though, for Steven. Is Penn State stopping the run also taking away Riley Leonard's legs? Or are we just talking about the running back room? Because honestly, if we want to just, be real about this whole thing, Georgia also stopped the run against Notre Dame. Like, Jadarian Price went for 37 yards against Georgia. He was their leading rusher outside of Riley Leonard. Take away Riley Leonard, Georgia essentially stonewalled them up front. And so I guess there's two ways to answer this. If you want to answer that question, say, yeah, they take away Riley Leonard's legs as well. I'm like, okay, this game gets more interesting. But I think my answer is kind of the same, even if you say no. Because if you say no, okay, then Riley Leonard's got some extra juice there on the ground. They can probably manufacture something in the trenches to begin with, and okay, then Notre Dame can kind of play their game they want to play. But like I said, there's a yes and a no to that whole side of things of if it's Riley Leonard taking away his legs and if it's not. But even if it is that situation where they just take away the run game to begin with, my answer is yes. To give you a definitive answer here, Stephen, my answer is yes. And this isn't a super analytical response, but we're going to try and take a bat to it. There's a part of me that watched the Georgia game and saw Riley Leonard just find a freaking way, man. Just find a way. And you watch it on tape, you try to break down the X's and O's, you try to break down the reasons, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. That was supposed to be power left side, and he went the back side, and it worked. You're never supposed to cut back on power, especially if you're just the quarterback. And Riley Leonard did that and did it for a big game against Georgia. Can't help but feel a little bit like it's like my baby girl who's 2 months old. She's going to find a way out of the swaddle. It may not make sense. It's not going to be pretty. There's probably going to be some grunting and some noises. But when I wake up in the morning and I turn over and look in her bassinet and I see both her arms outside of the swaddle, I'm like, just found a way. Just found a way. And it doesn't make a lot of sense because I wrap that swaddle tight now. That Penn State defense, they're phenomenal up front. They're going to wrap that swaddle tight around Riley Leonard, but they're going to find a way, I believe, to do something offensively to get it done. And again, it may be an ugly stat line. It might be a thing where Riley Leonard has 20 yards rushing and 70 yards passing. Maybe he accounts for 2 touchdowns and the defense does their thing and like the complimentary football of Notre Dame just ends up being the story there. The Hard Count was brought to you today by Axia Time. Axia Time, the official timepiece of both the college football playoff and the Heisman Trophy. Axia Time is probably now the best kept secret in college football. Incredible combo of product, quality, and cool designs. No one is doing this right now in the college space. For the college football playoff, Axia has created a series of limited edition timepieces for each of the 12 teams in the college football playoff. You got 2 designs per team and only 100 watches now per design. Go to AxiaTime.com to check out your team's college football playoff timepiece. But listen, y'all, gotta act fast. These are going to sell out. If you're a watch person, you'll see these specs, quickly realize great value that you're getting. If you're not a watch person, do your homework. You'd figure out this is a great deal when it comes to these watches. So check them out at AxiaTime.com. That's AXIATime.com. Commemorate this season in style with a watch that tells so much more than time. So in a more analytical sense, to give you a more X's and O's answer, the Boise State game, I think, should be looked at if you're trying to find a comp for the secondary of Penn State and what I think they'll do against Notre Dame. Obviously, Boise State's got Ashton Jeanty, so that's a reason to stack the box if you're Penn State. I think Riley Leonard is a better quarterback throwing the football than Maddox Madsen, Boise State's quarterback. I think Mike Denbrock is going to dial it up better than Boise State dialed it up. I also think Notre Dame has better perimeter weapons than Boise State does. So that's one part of this. What did Boise State do through the air? Yeah, some bad turnovers. There's no way around that. You can't excuse that. But Maddox Madsen also went for over 300 yards, darn near 9 yards an attempt. And it wasn't just like, one deep shot. It was a 50-yarder. It was a 40-yarder. Like Boise State in man coverage, when they had their shots, like, okay, they won their fair share of those matchups. And so if you're telling me that Boise State no shade to that roster compared to Notre Dame and what they have on the perimeter and how they recruit, and Jordan Faison and Jaden Greathouse and Mitchell Evans and like Bo Collins, like I think they can win enough of their matchups if Penn State decides to sell out to stop the run the way they did against Boise State. So the Penn State defense is really good. There's no way around that. I'm not trying to somehow paint the picture that like Riley Leonard can just kind of pick the way he wants to beat Penn State. But we did talk about the secret menu in our prediction segment for Notre Dame Penn State. We told you. Penn State, Cheesecake Factory, big menu, a lot of ways they can beat you. They got the run game. They got Drew Aller. They got Tyler Warren. They got the defense that flies around. Abdul Carter's a game wrecker. But if we're going to say that Notre Dame is in and out, and we're going to say they do, one thing really well, which is burgers and fries, and they complement each other really well, In-N-Out also has what we said, the secret menu. My Californians, my West Coasters, y'all know about this. Couple of things now that may not fit exactly into what you perceive, In-N-Out to be, what you perceive Notre Dame to be, but they're still on the menu if you know the right places to look. The Neapolitan Shake, I mentioned that. The Animal Fries, I mentioned that. There is a downfield passing game with Jordan Faison and Bo Collins that exists. Now, have you seen it frequently? Not so much. I mean, the Notre Dame passing attack is one reason why I was a little bit bearish on Notre Dame, full transparency, early on in the year. But it does exist. There are matchups they can win if they have to get it done, if they have to do it. And again, there's just the unquantifiable factor that I have a hard time wrapping my mind around, but I do think there's just a get it done, find a way kind of trait to this football team, to Riley Leonard. And so to answer your question, Stephen, if Penn State stops the run against Notre Dame, whether they take away Riley Leonard's legs or whether they don't, I still think that Notre Dame can and will win this football game with Riley Leonard finding a way. So appreciate y'all getting us on the socials over there. Again, follow me, Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell. We'll do a lot of that, hey, what if kind of content for you here in the offseason as well, but just a great place for us to interact and have a good dialogue whenever we're not live and living color on the air in the live chat.